time, but
Sure, let me get the governor's orders up, but 1 second, governor's order. Apologies, everyone. We're just trying to. I haven't sent in a while, so it's in the my email archive.
gotcha. Let me see if I can pull it up quick too.
Should have it. Governor's order.
Oh, I have it.
You have it? Okay, cool.
Okay, sorry for the delay, everybody. We're just scrambling here at the start. So this is the meeting of the 6:30 meeting of the planning board for February 19th, 2025. Um, Pursuant to the governor's order, this meeting is being held remotely in accordance to the provisions of the open meeting law. Pursuant to the governor's approval of a supplemental budget bill, temporary provisions pertaining to the open meeting law have been extended to March 31st, 2025. Specifically, this further extension allows public bodies to continue holding meetings remotely without a quorum of the public body physically present at a meeting location, and to provide adequate and alternative access to remote meetings. The language of this extension does not make any substantive changes to the open meeting law, other than extending the expiration date of the temporary provisions regarding remote meetings from March 31st, 2023 to March 31st, 2025. Members of the public are encouraged to participate remotely and shall address questions through the chair of the board. Okay, and with that out of the way, Mr. O'Brien, I believe we have a joint public hearing with the CDC.
Sure. I just wanted to say that we do have all members of the board present, as well as town staff, CD Director Bob Bruley, Building Inspector Steve Solari, myself, Town Planner, and Town Engineer Greg Tanzi. But yeah, we do have a joint public hearing with the Community and Economic Development Committee, but they are currently only having one member right now. So what I will request, Mr. Vice Chair, is that we take item 3 out of order, and that is the approval not required plan. So what I would request is a board vote to take item 3 out of order.
Do we have a motion to take item 3 out of order? It's an A&R for 884 South Street.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Move.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
I believe it would be Eric Costa taking the second because I think Pat stepped away.
Yep.
Okay, motion by Mr. Geller, second by Mr. Costa. Any discussion? Mr. Geller,
Yes.
Mr. Costa,
Yes.
Mr. Haley,
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll,
Yep,
He's-
I'm a yes. I'm back. I'm back.
All right,
and
so
I'm a yes.
all right, so I guess okay. So being that we don't have a board, enough members of the board, Eric will be acting as the 5th member on this item. All right, so we have 5-0 vote. All right, Lucas, you're up.
All right, can you all hear me?
Yep.
All right, perfect. For the record, my name is Lucas Klim from Klim Land Surveying, representing the owners of 884 South Street as well as 5 Jennifer Circle. What you have before you is a standard A&R plan. You may remember before we had been before you with a preliminary subdivision just to explore development options. Subsequent to that, we've come to an agreement. The 2 owners have come to an agreement as to utilize the existing frontage on Jennifer Circle to create those 2 lots as A&R lots. So all the lots will have the minimum frontage area requirements required for the residential C zone. And I can take any questions.
Lucas, can you just bring the plan up on the screen?
Sure. Where do we go? Share. And this one here. And share. Let's see. Does that work?
Yes.
Can you see? All right. Just so you can see here on the where my mouse here is, that's the existing dwelling number 884. To the north is the existing dwelling 5 Jennifer Circle. So what we're doing is we're gonna have the required frontage for 884 on South Street. The other 3 lots will all have the required frontage on Jennifer Circle. Actually, lot 4 will have enough frontage on either lot, on either street, Jennifer Circle or South Street.
Any comments from the planning department, Mr. O'Brien?
No, like Mr. Klim previously stated, this is something we saw for a preliminary subdivision. However, the applicant with signature from the adjacent property owner has presented this plan, creating essentially it's a 4-lot A&R that has the proper frontage, with 2 buildable lots, one of which being on South Street and the other being on Jennifer Circle. So it does meet the criteria of a Form A, and I don't have any issue with the endorsement of this plan.
Mr. McDonald, could I ask a question?
Of course, go ahead. Ben.
So Lucas, thank you. I think this is a
Better?
much better option than what you had before, so
I think so too.
I'm glad it worked out for you. Just a quick question to Mr. Solari. When I looked at this plan earlier, Mr. Solari, the frontage on Jennifer Circle is 114 feet, but and they need 125. They can count that radius. That's correct. That's where they get the 144, correct?
He can count the whole thing. You're allowed, if you're a corner lot, the whole thing is considered
All right.
frontage.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that's how I just wanted to, I saw they showed the 100, I think it was 114,
Right.
and then it was the radius, and then, so there's sufficient frontage. I just want to make sure. So thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, there's enough on South Street too. I think we had like 129 there or something.
Alrighty, any other comments from planning or questions?
I'll make a motion to endorse Mr. McDonald.
Motion by Mr. Driscoll. Do we have a second?
Sorry, I was on mute. Second.
A second by Mr. Geller. Any discussion? Ready? Mr. Driscoll,
Yes.
Mr. Geller,
Yes.
sorry,
It's going to be Ted,
Just
Ted, Eric, and yourself on this one.
Mr. Haley
is
a yes.
Mr. Costa,
Yes.
and I'm a yes.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Right, and with that, I will gratefully hand the meeting back to Mr. Driscoll.
Oh,
You're
you're
still
muted.
muted, Pat.
Are we good with, is Dr. Perry in attendance yet or no?
No, Dr. Perry yet.
I did try to telephone him without luck. I've also texted.
We can take item 4 out of order. We actually have. I can, Mr.
But
Chair.
item 4, this is just a minor, this is more of board business, right? It's minor modification.
Well, we do have board business, but I can take if we take item 4 and item 6 out of order, I can state that both are going to be continued to a later meeting.
Okay, and we don't have those dates yet, is that correct?
We do. We have the dates for the next meeting.
Okay, and these are something that were just put on by you, so we don't even need to make a motion, correct?
We should probably make a motion because I placed them on the meeting, and I just want to make sure if anyone's here for those that we properly continue on to the March 19th meeting.
Okay, so let's go with item 4. We have a minor modification request for 0 Jasmine Way. Do we have a motion to continue this to March 19th, you said, Mr. O'Brien?
That's correct.
Do we have a motion to do that?
So moved.
So, second,
Mr. Geller, second by Mr. McDonald. I'll take the roll. Mr. Geller,
Yes.
Mr. McDonald,
yes.
Mr. Costa,
Yes.
Mr. Haley, Yes. And I'm a yes. Okay, thank you. So going to item 6. This is a presentation by Mr. Ray Ajamian, a tree committee mitigation discussion. This is continued from February 5th. Do we have a motion to continue this to the March 19th meeting?
So moved.
Second,
Mr. Geller, second by Mr. McDonald. Any discussion? Okay, no discussion. Mr. Costa?
Yes.
Mr. Haley? Yes. Mr. McDonald?
yes.
And
Geller.
It's
Yeah.
Geller,
Mr.
yes.
Geller? Mr. Geller?
Yes.
I apologize, just I saw MJ popped on, so I didn't know what order I should take it out. And I'm a yes, so.
Okay.
So just now going forward that we have Ms. Pagone on, we're going forward with the same format. I imagine they're both associates. So
That's
Mr.
correct.
Pagone, okay, okay.
Yeah, it's essentially when we have two associates, you
Yeah.
can
The
take
pointing
whomever.
order.
Yep.
Okay. All right, why don't we go to item 5 then? This is a street acceptance request. This is order FY 25-036, laying out and accepting of a private way, Firefly Lane. Is anybody here for the applicant?
Daniel Vieira on behalf of Greg Maroney.
Yep, Mr. Vieira, just introduce yourself and go ahead, sir.
So, Daniel Vieira on behalf of Greg Maroney. Greg actually went to town hall and then realized that it was a Zoom meeting. And so he was intending to come himself. So I was able to jump in.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yep, you can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So as I'm sure the board is aware, this is a project that was originally designed, we're going to do condominiums, but in terms of the roadway, it was constructed in accordance with the town of Bridgewater's road, like standard road requirements. And so we're looking to go to town meeting to see if the town will accept that. I know that other ways that were to be considered as private ways have been accepted by the town in the past. And we're hoping that the town will have an interest in doing that here.
Okay, thank you, Attorney Vieira. So we did get some information from Mr. O'Brien regarding this, and that everything was done per the town standards, and we did end up releasing the bond in full. So, Mr. Tansey, do you have a report on this for us? Could you give us your, from the town's perspective, the DPW and engineering, if anything needs to be done, or if this is good to go?
The road was constructed to standards. The ADAs are all in. The drainage system is working. I was out there a while ago checking on lot markers, and they were installed. The only thing that we need to do is if the town is going to maintain this road and the drainage system, we do require that the developer post a $10,000 bond so that the DPW, to fund the DPW to do the maintenance to the drainage system, and that is standard for every street acceptance.
And just to be clear, when you say bond, so people understand, that's, I believe the way it's written is a non-refundable payment. So it's really not a bond, because a bond.
Right. Yeah, that's true. It's a non-refundable payment. It really isn't a bond. A bond you actually you get back when you finish doing the work. But this funds maintenance work indefinitely. So as roads get accepted, we get that non-refundable maintenance fee from the developers. Oh, you're muted, Pat.
So you've been out there and you're happy with the condition of the road and everything else at this point?
Yes, I was out there when they were doing the paving. We took measurements as the pavement was going down, the thicknesses. We took temperature readings, and it all conformed. The roadway came out to my satisfaction. I thought it looked good. They've got the crosswalks in, and like I said earlier, the ADA ramps are in. So there wasn't anything that I saw outstanding that needed to be done.
Okay, thank you. So just to the board, we received some information and some history from Mr. O'Brien. Mr. O'Brien, it's your opinion that this, based on what you provide us, this should be approved. Is that correct?
Yeah, I don't have any issue with it. Greg's point about the receipt of like a $10,000 maintenance bond, I think is appropriate. That's something that we received at a prior street acceptance, and it is a condition of the decision for street acceptance. So I feel that's appropriate. And being that there's no bond monies released and the roadway has been properly inspected and built to a standard that the town feels is appropriate, I have no issue in terms of doing a positive recommendation of the street acceptance to town council.
Okay. Any board members have any questions or comments? Do any residents or residents of the street or abutting streets or any residents have any questions or comments? Mr. O'Brien, do you see anybody?
I don't see anyone with their virtual hands raised. I know that I believe that residents and abutters would be notified based on the list provided at the town council meeting. So being that this is just a planning board recommendation to council, there will be another meeting in front of council for the acceptance of this roadway. So this is just a non-binding recommendation to council. So if anyone has any questions or comments, they have another opportunity at the town council meeting.
I remember when this street was approved, I'm really not sure why we ever said it would have to remain private, because it was built to town standards. I understand it when we go to the 1 to 4 lot subdivisions, but the developer did everything he was supposed to do here and to the town standard. And I think even went over and above with water lines and stuff like that. So I'd be in favor of it. Any other board discussion? If not, do we have a motion to recommend approval with the condition from the DPW and town engineer?
So moved.
Second.
So motion by Mr. Geller and second by Mr. Haley. And just for clarification, that I don't like to call it a bond, because a bond implies that you'd be getting it back if something is completed. So I think we should have it noted or in the decision that a $10,000 maintenance payment, not bond, will be made to the town.
Sounds good.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. I'll take the roll. Mr. Haley,
Yes.
Mr. Geller,
Yes.
Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
Mr. Costa,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. All right, thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Have a good
So
night.
back to item 2, joint public hearing with the CED. Mr. Council Chase, do you have Mr. Perry available yet?
I have received no response from him.
Well, nothing, Shane, I don't believe it says that does it say we have to have a joint hearing, or can we do it? Can we give our recommendation, or should we just continue the whole thing to our next meeting?
We could hold this as a recommendation. I think I can't speak on behalf of the CED committee, but I believe that we can hold our hearing and then recommend to council.
We
as well.
had this happen once before, 4 years ago, and we still moved forward with the planning board side of it and gave our recommendation. It would then just be up to Mr. Chase to reschedule his portion of the meeting. Sometimes it's good to meet jointly because we have discussion and bounce ideas off each other and come up.
Correct.
How do you wish to proceed, Mr. Chase? Do you want to reschedule the whole thing, or do you want us to move forward with ours?
Well, I think I'm certainly inclined to agree that if you prefer to proceed with your own discussion, I'd be happy to, for my own benefit, sit in on that and just listen to your comments, and we could later schedule a further Community and Economic Development Committee meeting to take it up. Obviously, I think at this point you realize that Dr. Perry is the only other current member of the committee, and I'm sure we would have not a great deal of difficulty to schedule a further meeting ourselves, just the two of us, and wrap the matter up at that point. It's up to you if you'd like to just.
Yeah, I just think this is something that's timely. So we've workshopped this already. I think we've talked about it in our other joint meetings. this is something that was supposed to be approved by February 2nd.
Right.
And it's basically following what the state is asking us to do anyway. So we really don't have a lot of latitude in it. So I think just to help out Mr. Solari and to help out that we have something on the books, that I'd rather just move forward with our portion of the planning board's seen this several times. So why don't we open, what I'll do then, if that's okay with Mr. Chase, I'll open the public hearing. We'll go through ours, we'll give our recommendation, and you can do your own.
I'm certainly amenable to that.
Okay, thank you. All right, so item 2, joint public hearing with Community Economic Development Committee. This is a zoning amendment. This is in regards to zoning ordinance D FY 25-013, zoning amendment for accessory dwelling units. This amendment is pursuant to accessory dwelling units and amend section 3.3.3, section 4.1, creation of section 4.5, amendments to definitions and table of use in footnote 3, table of dimensional requirements as attached. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. O'Brien for his presentation, and then we can go from there.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to kind of make it clear that I know this isn't the first time we've seen this before this board, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. So we're not necessarily surprised, but figuring that it is a public hearing and we have an audience. So just want to kind of talk about what we've been doing since this has been established. So currently within our zoning ordinance, there's language about in-law living areas that are specific to allowance for these uses, accessory dwelling units essentially, to be allowed in the town of Bridgewater. So currently we allow them in all of the districts that are single family or allow for single family dwellings in it. Currently, that's the Gateway, East Gateway, residential A through D, as well as allow for the opportunity for these in-law apartments to be located at single family houses within other districts in town in case if they don't necessarily match the zoning. So looking at the regulations that the state kind of established, that's pretty much us. We don't really have to change too much in our in-law expanded living area ordinance. What we do need to do, however, is kind of change some language in terms of making sure that we specify to the state requirements of having ADUs be permitted by right based on the recent governor's kind of proposal in the last, and I forget what the name of the bill is per se, but which allowed for accessory dwelling units to be permitted by right within single family districts. So what we would be adding to our zoning ordinances, as you mentioned, these specific amendments to these sections of our zoning ordinance, which would be stating that accessory dwelling units in single family houses would be an accessory use within our residential accessory uses. There would be no changes to accessory structures that we allow in town. That's for sheds and all those other things that wouldn't be necessarily considered accessory dwelling units. And we would be creating language in a new section under 4.5 that's called accessory dwelling unit. So it's essentially, we would be subject to our general regulations, are the same setbacks that we would be requiring, which are applicable to the principal building. There's still applicability of other regulations that we would make sure that this would meet. That would be General Law 131 S40, which is one of the requirements. 780 CMR Building Code, Title 5, as well as Fire Code. I don't believe Fire Code is allowed. I think we have to add Fire Code to this one. I don't know if I necessarily included it there, but we do cover Building Code. We have specific language to make sure that ADUs would be only allowed in single family dwellings, making sure that we would prohibit short-term rental as defined in Mass General Law. We can add language regarding the principal dwelling. The principal dwelling or the accessory dwelling unit cannot be sold separate from one another, as well as a floor plan shall be provided as part of any building permit, because the in the regulation, the state does want some sort of, they want some information about accessory dwelling units and whenever they're permitted in town. So we'll include that language in there as well as make it easier for Mr. Solari to review such language. So regarding definitions, we would be eliminating the in-law living area language, and we would be replacing it with the state definition of an accessory dwelling unit. We've kind of gone over all that language in the past. We've talked about accessory uses in terms of increasing, making sure that it shall not exceed 50% of the total area. This is something that we workshopped, as well as discussion of corner lots, as well as that language should be changed. Within our table of uses, as I showed before, it's stated that we have this I-14 that says expanded living space. What we would be simply doing is just changing it to accessory dwelling unit in a single family dwelling. So nothing would change in terms of uses and where they would be allowed, because we pretty much have that covered. So that's essentially it. If anyone has any comments, board members have any comments, I think the only thing that I would probably include in this is the inclusion of fire code, as well as there's a little typo before 780 CMR for building code that I just eliminate that number 1 from. So it's more of Scrivener's errors than anything, but I leave it up to the board for some comments.
Okay, so we've seen this. Does anybody have any comments or questions for Mr. O'Brien? Jan, I'd say that one of the big things in here, I think that's a great change, and Mr. Solari can probably talk about it, is the corner lot thing. That's been a problem with people building sheds and big garages and stuff in corner lots for a while. And actually, most of the engineers in our town interpret it as being, it should be the front yard setback on both streets. So I think having that change in addition to what we have to do is huge. It'll make everybody's life a lot easier. Mr. Solari might be able to comment to that.
I definitely agree with that. I've worked in multiple towns. This has been the first town I've worked on that calls the side yard setback on a corner lot side yard. It's always been frontage, front setback. So because as you know, in some of my explanations in the past that we've had sheds come in, and if you're allowed to be 5 feet from the property line on, say, a small shed like under 300 square feet, I've had to be able to allow them to have the shed almost near the property line of the side street. So this is, to me, a major improvement, because it keeps structures out of that pathway along the street on a corner lot.
So yeah,
and everything else is basically following the state stuff. So I think,
right.
What I would like to say is that I feel like with this language, and this is before my time, so I won't take any credit, but I think Bridgewater's language that was already in place was kind of already there. And as Steve would tell you, there's a lot of planners and cities and towns that are panicking right now because they're overcomplicating this process. Whereas we haven't been overwhelmed, or Steve hasn't been necessarily overwhelmed with these ADUs or in-law apartments. Whereas, I think the process that we currently have works. And if there's any issues moving forward, I think we would be happy to bring some amendments back to the floor to assist the process. So I would say kudos to Bridgewater for being ahead of it. And I think that this ordinance just benefits the town.
okay, if there are board comments, that's great. If not, we can open it up to public comment. It is a public hearing. And again, we've seen, the planning board's seen this and workshopped it a couple of times, so it's not new for us, but if anybody from the public has a question, please ask.
Do not see any virtual hands raised, nor do I see anyone in the chat.
All right, so does the board have a motion to recommend or not recommend to the council?
I'll move to
I'll make a
recommend to
motion
the
to
council.
recommend this to the council.
So Mr. McDonald made the motion, Mr. Geller seconded it. What I heard?
That's fine.
We're just so excited for it, you know.
Oh, we've seen this enough, so.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, you're right. I mean,
All right, so if there's no, and we really have no amendments because we've kind of workshopped it and already made the amendments, so. So we have a motion, a second, any discussion? Take the roll, Mr. Geller,
yes,
Mr. Costa,
Yes.
Mr. Haler.
Yes.
Mr. Haley, not Haler. Um, Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
and I'm a yes.
All
Okay,
right.
thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, actually, Shane, I'm out of sorts tonight, I apologize.
We're in,
We should also take a motion to close the public hearing, I'm sorry.
sure, you can You
So
do
do
that.
we do a motion to close this public
Motion to
hearing?
close the public hearing?
By Mr. Haley, do we have a second?
second,
By Mr. Geller, any discussion? So Mr. Costa,
Yes.
Mr. Geller,
yes,
Mr. Haley,
Yes.
Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
I mean, yes, out of order, but it's just a recommendation, so
Sure
thank
thing.
you. All right,
We're in other business.
so item 7, other business, Mr. O'Brien, have you provided us with November 20th or just November 6th?
Just November 6th. I apologize. I'm behind.
Okay, so has everybody read the November 6th meeting minutes? Does anybody want to make a recommendation to accept?
so moved,
By Mr. Geller, any second?
Second.
Mr. Haley, any discussion? And Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
Mr. Haley,
Yes.
Mr. Geller,
yes,
Mr. Costa? All right, Shannon, I'll turn it over to you for this one, 145 Winter Street. And maybe Mr. Tanzi can weigh in as well.
Sure. So at the last meeting, we'll give a nice, wonderful update that we did receive $10,000 from the applicant in regards to monies to be placed in a bond for work that had not been completed for regarding the stormwater basin to the site. Since that time, we provided the board some updated information, a quote, kind of a summary from the contractor in terms of the work and timing of the work and the cost of the work, as well as some HydroCAD information from Eric Diaz, who did the engineering for the project, as well as a comparison of the basins. So with that information, I will throw it back to the board for their comments. But I would say that we still feel like it's appropriate for the $10,000 amount to be provided as per the construction. What I could say is that we could hold that amount for granting of a TCO, not a full CO. And then from that time, perhaps hold that bond 6 months after work is completed in order to make sure that the work is properly done. But I'll leave it up to the board as well as allow our town engineer, Greg Tansey, to comment as well.
Well, I know we get that new plan from Strong Point, and it shows the elevations that are off. It shows some work that has to be done in the riprap area, the outfall. So, Mr. Tansey, is that, how much work is there, and is $10,000 sufficient in your opinion?
Yeah, I have reviewed that plan. It wasn't quite as far off as I had previously thought. You know, I believe that the work, you know, that basin can be reshaped for $10,000. Again, Gabriel is going to be doing that work. He's located, you know, right on the other side of the road per se. So any hauling of material, it's not going to be that extensive, and it's not going to be going that far. I don't see this regrading as being you know, that big of a deal. So yeah, I think 10,000 should more than cover it.
Pat may have had a step
Yeah,
away
no,
for a bit.
I'm good. Any other board comments or questions for Mr.?
So are we talking about giving a TCO to both buildings or just one of them? At one point, didn't we talk about just? giving them
Well,
a-
I think at the last meeting we allowed, we didn't, not that we allow anything, but that, we asked Mr. Solari to only issue one TCO until this was resolved. So he may have already issued one. Did you already issue one, Mr. Solari?
I have not, Pat. The applicant, I haven't talked to the applicant since the last meeting. I think we're just kind of waiting to see what was going to happen with all this information.
How long do the TCOs last? How long are they good for?
I can give a TCO. It's up to me. I usually, in this type of time of the year, I will usually do a 90-day, 3 months, because of weather. If it was deeper in the winter, I might give 180. It's usually based on the time of the year and, planting and being able to work the grounds. So it's probably going to get anywhere from 90 to 120 would be somewhere probably I'm thinking.
Is there a how many times that they can renew the TCO? There a limit on that?
It's again, that's also up to the building inspector. If you take the school, for instance, the last school we built, I think I gave 7 extensions because we were waiting for electrical pots for the school on South Street. So we gave a few extensions to that one, but that was for certain reasons.
Yeah, that's understandable. Okay.
Okay, any other comments? So just to be clear, Shane, the $10,000 being held, obviously, until all the work is completed, it's satisfactory to the town engineer and any final COs are issued, correct?
Correct, as well as, I would say we should subject to a updated as-built plan as well.
Okay, that sounds good. Any other discussion on it? From the board? If not, do we have a motion to accept Mr. O'Brien and Mr. Tanzi's recommendation for a $10,000 bond that will hold until everything's completed, new as-built, et cetera, and before we sign off on any CO?
So moved.
Were we gonna extend that to 6 months after completion?
The TCO or
Hold the bond money.
I just did that as kind of, if the work's complete, we can hold it for 6 months, but I leave it up to you guys.
Okay.
Was the motion made? Sorry.
No motion yet, no.
A motion to accept?
Okay, accept the recommendation of Mr. O'Brien and Mr. Tanzi, 10,000 and new as-built and 6 months after the CO, and no CO will be issued until everything's done. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, do a second.
Second.
Mr. Geller, any discussion? Mr. Haley,
Yes.
Mr. Costa,
Yes.
Mr. Geller,
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Okay, Shane. Shane, I know we talked about 53G accounts. Do you want to
Yep.
give us an update on that or no?
No, I'm just working through it. Working on letters to send out to those people. But there's just a work in progress, just giving an update.
Okay, items for the March 19th meeting?
It looks like the 43 Rear Central Square was continued at the last meeting, so that'll be on. As well as 0 Jasmine Way, tree mitigation discussion, as well as potentially another minor modification and potentially another A&R plan. So I'll keep you posted. We are pretty much a month between meetings. So we do have time to have get some new items that can be advertised. So I'll keep you guys posted.
Okay, and then we have, I know there's some things in your office that people need to show up and sign. Is that correct?
We do have all the signatures for the lot release for Wampanoag. But what I need from you, Pat, is some signatures for an A&R plan, the A&R plan that was approved today, as well as the A&R plan from the last meeting, as well as a sign up for the special permit duplex that we have for Broad Street. I finally have the plans for that. What I do need
I can
is,
stop in Monday and do those.
that's completely fine, as well as, you did abstain from the, Winter Street subdivision, and I have those plans, so I do need, the rest of the board members to come in and sign off on that for those to be, recorded as well. But that's what I have for items in need of signature.
Right. Is that your report as well? Or do you have a
Uh,
report?
I got a quick report, just in terms of, I sent out an email regarding, the Citizen Planning Training Collaborative, conference. Will occur it's St. Patrick's Day weekend, I believe it's March 15th. So if anyone's interested, I definitely recommend attending it. I may, be there this year, as well. So definitely check it out. It's a good, all-day training up in in Worcester. So I definitely recommend it. If anyone has any questions, happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you, Mr. O'Brien. If there's nothing else, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Sorry, Mr. Rudd, are those documents ready to sign, like tomorrow? That I'd be able to stop in. I'm actually off work tomorrow.
Yes,
Okay, perfect. I'll head down tomorrow then.
sounds good.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Mr. Haley, do a second.
Second.
Mr. Geller? Any discussion? Mr. Costa?
Yes.
Mr. Geller?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Haley?
Yes.
Yes. Good night, everyone.
Hey, everyone.
Night, everyone.
Aye.